children. Today we are going to study the second lesson in English literature for class 7, and the name of the lesson is Mary Curie, a radiant life. Radiant life means radiating light, ray-like appearance. Written by Eve Curie. Now before we begin the lesson, let's know a bit about Eve Curie. Who was she? She was the youngest child of Mary and Pierre Curie. She was a famous pianist, writer, and a biographer. So this particular passage is also the biography of her own mother, which appeared in the Reader's Digest in 1959. So now let's come to the lesson. Mary Curie's work on radium and radiology. So what is this radium? So radium is a radioactive metallic element. And what's this radiology? Radiology is the use of radioactive substances in diagnosis. This is especially useful in X-rays. So Mary Curie's contribution in these two areas was remarkable. Has been one of the greatest glories of modern science. So this excerpt, this lesson what we are going to study over here is her biography written by her own daughter Eve Curie. In the autumn of 1891, that means in the autumn season in 1891, a young Polish emigre, a young person. Emigre means a person who has left her country. Polish means from Poland. Named Marie Sklodowska excitedly registered for the science course at the Sorbonne in Paris. So what is Sorbonne? Sorbonne is the name of a university in Paris. So she got herself registered there for the science course. She was too shy to make friends and she lived a life of monastic simplicity. Now what is this monastic? Means simple and quiet. Very simple life, devoted only to study. That means she was only concerned about studies. From a small income, she had to pay for her room, means of livelihood, clothes, and expenses at the university. When she wanted a feast means a small party, she bought 2 eggs or a piece of chocolate with some fruit. That was only her feast. You can understand from this extract that what a simple lady she was and how her happiness was only there concerned about studies. That means she was only devoted to study alone. He met Pierre Curie in 1894, a French scientist of genius, of expert, of excellence. Pierre, like her, was a devoting body and soul to scientific research. So Pierre Curie was also a genius and he was also a devoting body towards scientific research. So they both had the same taste towards scientific research. Immediate sympathy, as both of them were there in the same research field, the sympathy brought them together, which in few months Pierre asked Mary to be his wife. But to marry a Frenchman, because Pierre was from France, a Frenchman, meant that Mary had to leave her own country, which is Poland. So, in this way, 10 months passed. Finally, Mary accepted. Now over here it's mentioned there she had to leave her beloved oppressed Poland. Why oppressed Poland? Oppressed means subject to harsh treatment. So she had to leave her own country because she would get married to a person from France. Who is this? Pierre Curie. Their life together in a little flat was singularly lacking in comfort. That means they did not have anything of comfort. They had only things of necessity. They refused the furniture offered to them by Perry's father. They did not take it. The bare quarters were furnished only with books, 2 chairs, and white wooden table. On the tables were treatises. What is this treatises? Treatises means a serious written work dealing with a subject. On physics, a lamp, a bunch of flowers, and that was all. Little by little, Mary improved her housekeeping wisdom. Bit by bit, Mary also tried to improve her skill in how to keep up the house. She invented dishes which needed little preparation. That means such dishes could be cooked which would require less time and could be left to cook themselves. That will not require the close supervision of hers. Before going out, Mary would regulate the flame with a physicist's precision. That means when she would leave the kitchen and go to the laboratory, she would regulate the flame in such a way that it will take quarter of an hour. By that moment, she could be busy with her research work. Then in a quarter of an hour, bent over other containers, she would regulate the flame in the laboratory burner with the same careful gesture. Now what gesture is a posture, the manner of carrying the body. So she would do it with the same careful gesture. Daughter Irene, a future Nobel Prize winner, was born. The idea of choosing between family and the scientific career did not even cross Mary's mind. Did not even cross somebody's mind means to come to someone's mind. So this idea never came up that she would give up her research. With the help of her husband Perry, she kept house, watched her baby daughter, but she also kept on working in the laboratory, working towards the most important discovery of modern science. Pierre Curie, who had followed the rapid progress of his wife's experiments with passionate interest, with his own interest, now abandoned his own research. So now Perry left his own research. Abandoned means deserted, cast aside. So Perry left his own research and joined whom? Mary. In order to aid with her, aid means help her, give her assistance. Now 2 brains, 4 hands now sought the unknown element in the damp little storeroom that served as their laboratory. Their laboratory was basically a storeroom, which was a dam. Dam means wet, partially wet, moist. So in July 1898, they were able to announce the discovery of a new element. Mary named it polonium after her beloved Poland. Why did she name it polonium? Because she was from Poland. So she named it because she liked that place, Poland. In December the same year, the Curies announced the existence of a second new chemical element which they called radium. In the same year, they announced a new chemical element. What was that? Radium. An element whose radioactivity they believed to be enormous, great. Dressed in an old dust-covered and acid-stained smock. Who was dressed? Mary. Smock is a loose, comfortable piece of clothing. Surrounded by bitter smoke from her experiments, which stung her eyes and throat, Mary was a virtual factory by herself. She looked as though she was a factory on her own. These were some of the happiest years of her life. That means this research work where she was completely engrossed, that was the best part of her life. She enjoyed it. Money for research was not easy to come by, and the Curies continued to teach to supplement their income. So they continued to teach others so that they could supplement. Supplement means to add something. to their income because money was required for the research. Torn between their own work and their jobs, they often forgot to eat and sleep. They were so much busy in their work that they often forgot to have their sleep or to eat. Thus, radioactivity grew and developed. Meanwhile, exhausting little by little, exhausting means getting tired, bit by bit, the pair of physicists, these two, who had given life to these two elements. Finally, they achieved the miraculous outcome. What is this miraculous? Miraculous means remarkable. Outcome means result of their effort of purifying radium. Radium could become the ally of human beings, of great use, be a friend. Human beings in the war against cancer, to cure cancer. Radium was useful, magnificently useful, greatly useful. A radium industry was about to be born. Perry explained these things to his wife one Sunday morning. We have two choices, Perry told her. We can describe the results of our research without reserve, including the process of purification, or else we can consider ourselves to be the proprietors, the owners, the inventors of radium. Patent the technique. You know what's patent? Patent means to have the official right. So official right, which is there only with a particular person, to sell or use product of an invention. So there were two choices. One was to present it openly, and the second was to be the inventors, the proprietors of that particular element, which would make them earn money. The technique can manufacture radium throughout the world. Mary reflected for a few seconds. She thought. Mary reflected, thought for a few seconds. Then she said, "It is impossible. It would be contrary to scientific spirit. It will be against scientific spirit." Perry's serious face lightened. If we remain the proprietors, the owners, the inventors, we could have a fine laboratory too. Mary's gaze grew fixed. She kept on looking. And then she says, physicists always publish their researches completely. If our discovery has a commercial future, that is an accident by which we must not profit. And if radium is going to be of use in treating disease, it is impossible to take advantage of that. That means Mary did not want to take the advantage of her research. She wanted to work and show off this research for the public. Having decided, Perry and Mary headed for the woods, to the forest on their beloved bicycles. They had chosen forever between poverty and fortune. In the evening, they came back exhausted, tired, their arms filled with leaves and field flowers. On 10th December 1903, the Academy of Science, Stockholm, announced that the Nobel Prize in Physics for the current year was awarded half to Henry Becquerel, half to Monsieur and Madame Curie for their discoveries in radioactivity. So they were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics. Shared with whom? Henry Becquerel. The Nobel Prize meant 70,000 gold francs. Francs is the currency of France. There were loans to be repaid to Perry's brothers, Mary's sisters, donations to scientific societies, gifts to students, and to a childhood friend of Mary. Mary also installed a modern bathroom in their little house and repapered a shabby room. What is this repapered? Means put up a new wallpaper. But it never entered her head to mark the occasion by buying a new hat. She never wanted to spend anything on her own to mark the occasion. Keeping away from the limelight, from the show-off, Mary soon resumed the routine of school and laboratory. She continued her work. Towards 2:30 on Thursday, 19 April 1906, a sultry. Now what's sultry? Sultry means a hot and a humid day. Rainy day, Perry left the university, attempted to cross a road, accidentally stepped into the path of a heavy dray. Now what's the dray? Dray is a low flat horse-drawn vehicle for carrying load, and lost his life in a flash. So Perry died in an accident. After the funeral, the government officially proposed to award Mary a pension. Pension is the amount given to the wife after the husband's death. She refused flatly. She said, I don't require. I am young enough to earn my living and that of my children. She said, displaying her habitual bravery, how strong she was. The Council of the Faculty of Science unanimously means by everyone in the group, decided to entrust means to trust to the care of, Perry's post, that means the husband's post, at the Sorbonne University to Mary. This was the first time that a position in French higher education had been given to a woman. On the day of her first lecture, the amphitheatre. Now what's this amphitheatre? An open outdoor theatre. The amphitheatre was packed and Mary walked into a storm of applause. People were cheering. She inclined her head and waited for the ovation. What is this ovation? Ovation means a show of appreciation, of applause. She waited to calm down. Then she stared straight ahead of her and said, when one considers the progress that has been made in physics in the past 10 years, one is surprised at the advance that has taken place in ideas concerning electricity and matter. So she continues to speak, but this tells about the changes which occurred in the last 10 years in physics. Marie Curie had resumed the course at the precise sentence where Marie Curie had left. She continued from there. Tears rose to the eyes and rolled down the faces there. So people, those who were there, tears rolled down their eyes. Now the personal fame of Madame Curie mounted. So her own fame, her own being famous, mounted and spread like a bursting rocket. And Sweden awarded her the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. She was also awarded the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for the year 1911. No other man or woman to date has ever received the prize for two different subjects. To the end of her life, Mary continued her work with passion and dedication. On Friday, 6 July 1934, the robust heart beat no more. What is this robust heart? Means strong. Robust means strong, evincing strength. That means she died. Mary was buried beside Perry in the cemetery. Cemetery means a graveyard, place where the dead are buried. At Sizox, in the presence of her family, friends, co-workers and students who loved her. That's there in this lesson. What do we get to know from the life of Marie Curie? That she was a very simple lady, but she had a goal in her life which she wanted to achieve, and she did not bother about the comforts or luxuries in her life, but she was only focused to achieve her goal. So this also tells us that we can have a simple living and have a high thinking. I hope you have understood this lesson. With this, I end my video.